Hello and welcome to Knitting for Beginners. These are the instructions for Henley sweater knitting pattern I have at my Etsy shop. We will start with cast on. Cast on means you're just creating the first loop on your needle, and your first row will be after you cast on all the stitches. Now knit. Your yarn should be in the back of the work and you simply pull yarn through each stitch. Purl. Your working yarn should be in front of your work and you simply again pull yarn through each stitch. When knitting on one side and purling on the other side, that's called stockinette stitch. That's the most basic stitch in knitting. The second basic stitch is the garter stitch, and this is very easy, simple stitch as well. Instead of knitting on one side and purling on the other side, you will knit on every side. We will be using garter stitch in this pattern for ribbing on the top and ribbing in the end of the sleeves. And this stitch looks identical on each side and has a little stretch to it. Let's make a buttonhole. In the pattern you will be making 2 buttonholes, and the pattern says knit 2, then knit 2 together, yarn over, and knit. You will continue as pattern to the end of this row, and on the way back we will pick up and close the buttonhole. So once you go to the next row, work your stitches as the pattern is written. Once you get to the yarn over from previous row, you have 2 options. You can either take that yarn over and knit, but that's for the larger button. I want to make it smaller, so I will knit by twisting this yarn over first. That will allow my smaller button to stay in place. And then knit to the end of this row. Make sure you test your buttonhole if it's good size for your button. You want the button to go through, but you want to be a little snug. Now let's connect the front ribbing. You will make sure that the buttons ribbing is on the top on your right side. You will have ribbing on 2 separate needles. In order to connect them together, you will pick up 1 stitch from each needle and knit them together. It's the same like you will be doing 2 together in any other project. In our pattern, each ribbing has 6 stitches. By making now connection, this will reduce 6 stitches in our project. So once again, you're taking 1 stitch from each needle and knit them together as one. And that will close the opening. Now let's do raglan increases. We will be using slanting stitches to the right and left, and we have 2 stitches in between. So knit all the way to the first stitch before stitch marker, and the loop between stitches, you pick it up with your left needle from the back. Then you go in between, twisting that stitch and making knit. Now knit 1, move your stitch marker, you will knit 1 again, and you will do slanting to the left. So this way it's a bit different. You will put your needle up front, pick up that yarn in between stitches, and you knit in a back loop. Once that's done, you can just continue to do all the knits. You will be increasing every other stitch, so every purl stitch you will just purl all together. And once again, we on the right side, we will stop 1 stitch before stitch marker. We will pick up that yarn between stitches from the back, and we will knit that picked line with the front loop, just like that. And knit, move your stitch marker, knit 1, and we will pick up again the yarn between stitches from the front, and we will knit through the back loop. On the left side is a little bit easier, on the right side is a little bit more difficult, but with practice you will be fine. Now you can see the increase. There is more stitches every second row.